Okay, we are about to start. Actually, Megillah, um, Perek Aleph Halacha Dalet, which is at the bottom of Daf Dalet Amud Beis. We stopped at the Mishnah last time because we didn't want to start the new sugya before, uh, which so we want to start Mishnah then stop immediately after Mishnah's ended with the blot. So we left it for this time, and we will commence with that. That Mishnah. And I'm just waiting to find a place for a moment. But in any event, I'm sure by now you have it. It is, again, Daf Dalet Beis, Perek Aleph Halacha Dalet. Ezra Gedola. What is considered to be a large city in terms of reading the Megillah on Yud Dalet? Kol sheyesh ba asar batlonim, any city which has 10 people who are batlonim. Now, what batlonim are means they don't do something. What it is, the Gemara is going to discuss. Pachas Mikan, if it has less than 10 batlonim, a reza kfar, then that is a village. Be'elu omru magdimin v'lo ma'achrin. In these cases, meaning in the days of reading the Megillah, we said you do it before Yud Aleph Tesvav, not after Yud Aleph Tesvav. It's only up to, not past. Avzman atzei kohanim, but the time when the kohanim bring the, we bring it, I should say, when it comes out of Shabbos. We do it earlier, not after. In other words, without this coming on Shabbos, we do it before Shabbos. But other things, these are good things. When the Kohanim are supposed to bring wood for the Beis HaMikdash, or other people, many people who had brought wood to the Beis HaMikdash to their privilege to bring wood for the Karbanos, when they would bring the wood to the Beis HaMikdash. So the Tisha B'Av, which obviously is a bad thing, of a Chagiga, when one has to bring a korban chagiga, when one comes, it was a good thing on Yom Tov to the Beis HaMikdash, one brings the Abshul Karbanos. Ve'hakel, another good thing, every Sukkot, one on the first day of Chol HaMoed, one does brings together the congregation for the king to read from Sefer Dvarim to them. Ma'achrin v'lo makdimin. You make it later, in other words, after Shabbos, not prior to Shabbos. When the proper date will come on Shabbos, you push them off. Mutarim behesped of a tainis. These days are permitted in mutarim in hesped and tainis. Umatonos live yonim. In other words, the days when we go earlier for Kriyas Megillah are. I didn't get it. Send an invite. One second. Okay, that's what happened there. But in any event, the days in which you go earlier for Kriyas Megillah, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, you're allowed to do a hesped and a tainis if it's necessary for whatever reason, and matos of yonim, and you can do matos of yonim on those days as well. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Amos, when is this true? When can you read earlier on Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel when there is a marketplace, a gathering on the Monday and Thursday, which are Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel. But if there is no Yom HaKnisa, like today, where we don't have a gathering on the Mondays and Thursdays, so then you read specifically on the right time, at the right time, which is on the 14th day of Adar, or the 15th if it's a Yom HaKnisa, but we're talking about Kfarim, so that's not really applicable. Okay, says the Gemara, top of the Haymanah. Tani, we learned these 10 people do not involve themselves in work. The Beis HaKnesses, rather, they go to shul and they sit all day and they learn and they daven. It's like us who do not require our Talmudim, we don't need to have our we don't need to find our livelihood. We have an independent source of livelihood. Normally, Talmudenu means our learning, but there's a reference the Mashbiach brings down to the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Perek Ben Samura, where it says, Lo Matzah Talmudo, Ben Samura did not find his sustenance from normal channels, so therefore he goes and steals it from his parents. So Talmudo here means a person who doesn't have to go out to work. Okay, because he's, and therefore he's independent to sit and learn. Okay, I understand Ron is pointing out that as a pshat, I guess, from the article, not obligated to support their talmidim, but again, I think the article pshat is not as good as the Mashbiach's pshat. Okay, we learned, because going back to Tani, we learned, now here's Sharet Eretz Yisrael, not like the Rambam. The Rambam has the gears like we have in front of us, but the Sharet Eretz Yisrael changed it to Tani Ir, She'ein Bo Asara, a city which doesn't have these 10 batlonim. Takonoso Kakoloso. Its takona is its going on its kilkul. In other words, the fact that it doesn't have the 10 people ruins it, then therefore nasa kikfar. It becomes like a village and it goes down a level. So that's a good you learn like the Sharet Eretz. The Rambam, however, learns it as follows. He says that it means Tani Kfar she'ein bo asara, a town which doesn't have 10 inhabitants, not batlonim, 10 inhabitants. Takonoso Kalkuloso, its fixing is its ruination, meaning it's really the opposite. Takonoso Kalkuloso, really both cases should say that which ruined it, fixed it, but it's like a Lashon Sagi norm. Whenever we say something negative, we try and twist it to make it positive. So it really is, but if the village has less than 10 people, Nasekeir, then becomes like a town, and therefore has to read on Yudal. So again, according to Sharet, so it's going on an ear which doesn't have 10 batlonim. He switched the gears, so it became like a kfar. According to the Rambam, it's about a kfar which doesn't have 10 inhabitants. It becomes like an ear, has to read on Yudal. Okay, going further. Beilu amru magdimim v'lo ma'achrim. There's an expansion of our Mishnah. In certain things we said we go prior to Shabbos when it comes on Shabbos, so we go after Shabbos. So Kriyas HaMegillah, in Kriyas HaMegillah, Truma Shkolim, and also when you bring the Shkolim, which are supposed to be brought on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Magdimim v'lo machrim. So we bring them earlier and not later, obviously because it's necessary to have the new Shkolim in place on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because that's when we start buying from those korbanos. So therefore, it's better to have it earlier than have it later. Rabbi Zira kumi Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Zira stayed in front of the following: V'yasu on Shabbos. No, it's the question here, right? Yes, let's make him on Shabbos itself. Why don't we make Purim come out on Shabbos and Kriyas Megillah on Shabbos? So he said, Amalei sos osami mei mishteh v'simcha. It's going to be a day of which we make into Mishnah v'simcha in. Did I skip a line? Oh, sorry, you're right. I skipped a line. Yes, Chumash Kohen. Magdim v'lo machmi. Go earlier, not later. Sudas Rosh Chodesh u'Sudas Purim. The Suda of Rosh Chodesh and the Suda Purim, which Suda Rosh Chodesh is to make publicize that Rosh Chodesh was made on the 29th, the 30th day of the month. So we make a Suda in order to note that. And Purim, of course, is Sudas Purim. So those we do the day after Shabbos on a Sunday. Okay, so so now the Gemara asks, Machnu Magdimin, and that's actually true of Zman Hazeh and Purim Meshul Shushalayim. They read the Megillah on Friday. They say on Nisim on Shabbos, and the Suda is on Sunday. Now the Gemara's question is, it says again, Rabbi Zira by Rabbi Avo. Rabbi Zira asked for Avo. V'yasu on Shabbos. Why don't they make on Shabbos itself the Mikra Megillah? Or in this case, it sounds like he's going specifically on the Mishnah. Why are we making it on Shabbos? So, but one could say Saint Kriyas Megillah. It's important to know because that the Bavli holds the reason I don't do Mikra Megillah on Shabbos is because of the Gezer the Rabbah. The Gezer the Rabbah was that Shema Yovo Taltlo Arba Amos Shusarabim. Maybe you're going to go carry 4 Amos Shusarabim on Shabbos. So therefore, they didn't allow Kriyas Megillah on Shabbos. the Yerushalmi doesn't hold of that Gezer of Rabbah, not here, not by Shofar, not by Lulav, not by any case where the Bavli says that's the reason we don't do these things on Shabbos. So every Yerushalmi feature on these things needs a specific and separate source for what it's for not reading the Megillah on Shabbos. If it's not because of Rabbah's Sfara, which is really later than the Yerushalmi, since Rabbah doesn't appear in the Yerushalmi. So why can we make Purim on Shabbos itself? So he says it's a puzzle. If they have to Purim is the day which we make it to Mishneh B'Simcha. That day which is Simcha is contingent on Beis Din's decree, and not the Yotzah Suppose Shabbos of the Surah comes from the hands of heaven. It's interesting because the Shitas Yerushalmi is that there's a din of Simcha on Shabbos. So Bavli is only a din of Oineg on Shabbos, not a din of Simcha. Could be that's why the Bavli couldn't learn this way anyway. But the Yerushalmi Shita is that there's a din of Simcha on Shabbos as well as a din of Oineg, and therefore it's a Simcha b'dei Yerushalayim, and that's why we don't make Purim on that day. Okay. Makebes Purim Purim. When we collect money for Purim, right? It has to go to them on Purim, and we don't say, well, we have more than enough. Let's use for another cause. No, it has to go specifically to Purim purposes. In order, as long as they don't change with it, what are the meaning zanim, such as such as a poor person using it to buy shoelace. In other words, they have to use it specifically on the Suda, because Matas were made for the Suda's Purim. So this is interesting shita, right? That the Matas are specifically for the Suda's Purim, not for any other purpose. The Gemara says no. Mitzvahs Purim. We're not meticulous in the money of Purim. Now, this means that it literally means we give it to whoever extends a hand, but it also means in reflecting on the previous line that an ani is allowed to use the money for whatever he wants, and not just for the Suda. And I think with Manazeh, certainly we don't know, no idea what the aniyim are using it for, and a lot of times they're collecting money late in the day after I Purim Suda. So therefore, evidently, we pass, and we're not medaktek, not just into who we give it, but also to what purpose they're going to use it. But the Pnei Moshe has a very big chiddush, and how he's doing is Pnei medaktim. In the first one, line Pnei Moshe, so Korban Eda. Korban Eda says first one line Korban Eda, va'afilu la'akum noslim. You even give to a non-Jew. It says, we support non-Jewish poor people. You give everybody, you also give them. Now, it's very big chiddush, because that was, you give poor non-Jews money for tzedakah, yes, because of Darkei Shalom, but it's not linked to any occasion. You could always give them the money the next day, right? But here, the Korban is saying this chiddush, which I don't know if it appears in halacha anywhere, which is that, no, specifically on Purim itself, the Matanas Lev Yonim on Purim, also we don't distinguish, and if a non-Jew comes and asks for Matanas Lev Yonim on Purim, we give him Matanas Lev Yonim. Okay? Very big chiddush, it seems. Okay, says the Gemara further. So anybody extends his hand to take, we give it to him. So we're going back what we just said. We said we don't change the purpose of money, Purim money. But other money you can't change. It's not so similar to change any other tzedakah. You have to do it with the Shiva Tuvei ear. There have to be all sorts of those procedures. The 7 select aldermen have to decide to do it. It's not a simple thing. So rather means before they be given to the treasurers, to the you're allowed to change them. Once they give to the treasurers, we can't change their purpose. In other words, before they're given, you can change other money and say you plan to give for this. No, we're taking for this. The treasurer can reallocate it, but this is not true by most Purim. Whereas Purim, they specifically have to be taken by the Gizbar on the specific purpose of being given to the Anim Boba Yom that day. Okay, I was going on. I was Kohanim, the time of the wood of the Kohanim. What is this time of the Kohanim and the nation in the wood, which we've singled out here, which we've counted here, which we've separated out. When Am Yisrael came up at the time of the second Beis Hamikdash from the exile, they didn't find wood with which to sacrifice the korbanos in the office in the Beis Hamikdash. And evidently they didn't have the money to buy. They were very poor at that time. So these people volunteered, certain families among the Kohanim and among the Israelis volunteered to bring the wood for the korbanos. Where they volunteered the wood and came to the community, because obviously for communal korban, the wood also has to come from the community. The korbanos were brought from them, and they made a stipulation among them. The prophets among them made the stipulation. That even if the stockpiles are full of wood, there's plenty of wood. Nevertheless, that if these people come and they volunteer to bring wood, the same families, their descendants, that korban should first be brought from their wood before using any other wood, even the wood should already have stockpile. Rabbi said Rabbi Yossi. This is going like Rabbi Yossi. Now, what are you going to see? How does the wood brought by an individual become the wood of the community? If you buy something with the communal money, then I understand it belongs to the community. That's why korbanos we buy always from the money which is brought from the machzis or shekel. But how does this wood, which is brought by an individual, volunteered by individual families, has become communal property? So it's going like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, "Afarota misnadev shomer chinam." This is about when they needed to have shmira. There's certain things which have to be undergo shmira. Specifically, I believe it's talking about the korban omer, the grain for the korban omer, which there's supposed to be a shomer who watches that grain. So that shmira is supposed to be a community responsibility, but an individual can't take it upon himself, according to Rabbi Yossi, and represent the community, and it's considered to be as if the community is doing it as a whole. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi said, no, divrei koli. Everybody agrees. It says, ma pligin begufo shel korban, because the whole machlek is about the korban itself, meaning the grain for the korban omer is the korban itself. And there, all the activities have to do with the korban omer. We have a machlekes. Rabbi Yossi holds an individual can't volunteer his services, and Chachamim hold an individual can't volunteer his service. It's got to come from the community. Ava machshirei korban, but the wood, which is not the korban itself, but it's a machshir for the korban, right? It's something which is an essential ancillary component of the korban. So everybody is shumishtane korban yachid mi korban tzibur, that it can be changed to be a korban yachid into a korban from a korban tzibur, but really means that it could be from change from a korban yachid to a korban tzibur. Okay, so that's not a problem. Tani, we learned ha'isha, and this is a similar thing. Ha'isha shoasa asas ketanis levana, a woman who made a white garment for the kohanim. She has to give it over to the community. In other words, normally we would assume that the Gizbar, the Beis Hamikdash, pays for the kohanim going to be made ahead of time. But here, one volunteered to give something which she wove herself, so she has to give it to the community. Rabbi Yossi. So again, Rabbi wants to say it's going like Rabbi Yossi. That you can volunteer services, perhaps not going like Rabbana. And again, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yossi said divrei kolu. No, here it also works according to everybody. Why? Because again, where's the machlokas Rabbanan? And Rabbi Yossi went about the gufish korban, the actual korban omer. Ava machshirei korban, but that which is an ancillary as component of the korban, such as big dekuna, kol amoy moedei. Everybody agrees shemishtana korban yachid korban tzibur, that it can be changed. It can be converted from this korban yachid to korban tzibur, and therefore it's legitimate. I can't. We don't see exactly why it's like that. I would assume the svara is that we're more afraid by something which is going to, since the korban itself has to be done for the community, and it's a kapara of the community, we're more afraid when it comes to that than something which is not part of the kapara directly, but rather is something which is preparatory to the kapara. So therefore, if you want to represent the tzibur with kapara, it should belong to the tzibur. If you want to be just like we take individual kohanim to do the work of the Beis Hamikdash, and we expect them to do it on the behalf of the tzibur, so too we allow individuals to do preparatory or ancillary things. I'm not sure what I'm saying when I'm saying this, whether this is so clear, but I hope you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. If not, it's because I'm not clear about it myself. Okay, it says the Gemara further. Masnisa, the following brisa here, the combination changes to Messiah Rabbi Yosef. Yeah, it is a raya evidence Rabbi Yosef. It says Osam Hayomim Nogim B'Shas Korban B'Shalo B'Shas Korban. It says that those days, the days of Megillah's Tainus, which are the days of Simcha for these families, are knowing when there's a Beis Hamikdash and Korbanos, and even when there isn't a Beis Hamikdash and Korbanos. Rabbi Yosef Eina no hagin el b'shas hakorban. Rabbi Yosef says no, they don't apply only at the time of korban. Whatever the resolution of that machlekes is, whatever. Ron says very long article footnote on the Karma Yachid Karma Tzibur thing, but whatever that day is, whatever the point, whatever the halacha is, whether these days apply after the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed or not, that's not. But we see Rabbanan also there were such days, so we can see Rabbanan at some point in history at least. So we see that Rabbanan also conceded the point that it was possible for individuals to bring the wood, and the wood to then belong to the Beis Hamikdash and to the community, and that it was an effective practice. Okay. And furthermore from this, we have evidence. The Tani, Rabbi Elazar said, I was from the descendants of the family of Sana ben Binyamin, one of the families who were privileged to bring the wood. And once Tisha B'Av came out on Shabbos, like we always do. But the thing is that the 10th day of Av was the day on which Binyamin ben Sana ben Binyamin, at the time Beis Hamikdash existed, would bring their korbanetzim. So it was their yontif. So even after Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, he was saying that when they pushed up Tisha B'Av to Sunday, since it was our yontif of our day when we brought korban eitzim, when Beis Hamikdash, this is therefore you misani v'lo mashlimin. They only fast half a day in Tisha B'Av. So it's a big hula if you know you're descended from Sana ben Binyamin, I guess, theoretically, then it's not a big hula because not in the Maisa, but even with that, perhaps you could fast only half a day on Tisha B'Av. Okay? Says the Gemara further, turning the page, the Hammer base. Uva Tisha B'Av. Rabbi Yoshem Rabbi Chia bar Ba said, Bedina Yushim Misani Asbasiri B'Shabbat Nisraf. Really, we should fast on the 10th day of Av, because the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, primarily burnt on the 10th day of the Av, right? So what's the point of this? So Gillian Ephraim says the point of this is to tell us why Tisha B'Av is pushed off. Normally we say the reason I put Tisha B'Av pushed off, I believe in the Bavli, is because Magdumi Punusa and Nafshi Lo Makdumina. We never do something which is bad, never bring it earlier. We always push it off later. But the Yerushalmi is saying a different story. The Yerushalmi is saying that, no, because the Ikar Churban was the 10th day of Av, so therefore, it's true. Normally, we observe the day which was the beginning of the Churban. But when Tisha B'Av comes out on Shabbos, since it's an additional svah that the Ikar Churban was on the 10th, so therefore we push off the fast to Sunday. Okay? Why did normally fast to Chi? Shabbos Chila Puranas, because it's the beginning. But when you have to push off, they'll make it earlier. The Tani came, and we also learned this historically. On the 7th day of Av, the non-Jews entered the Romans entered the temple. On the 8th day they were cackling over it. They were rejoicing over it. But on the 9th day they ignited the fire. And on the 10th day it burned. Right now we know that Zot there are Moroim. Rabbi Shimon Levi time to Shiva Siri. Shimon Levi fasted both days, the 9th and the 10th, because of that. Rabbi Levi time to Shiva, he fasted the 9th day, Vilel Asiri. Not the entire 10th day, but the night of the 10th day. According to the Korea, it sounds like because he held historically that the Beis Mikdash actually burnt through the night of the 10th and not during the day of the 10th. So therefore, it was suffice to fast during the nighttime, not fast during the day of the 10th. Rabbi Bar Zavta, and this is in the Bavli also, Mr. Mechina said, Bikesh Rabbi Lakot Tishbav. Rabbi wanted to uproot Tishbav. V'lo dulo. And they did not consent to this. So this is very radical. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. I'm Rabbi Lezer. Lezer says, Rabbi China, you see, I was there when this came up with you. The last time it's Ela Bikesh Rabbi Lakot Tishbav Chalis B'Shabbos. He wanted to push off Tisha B'Av. Seichel Churban is a big thing. But when Tisha B'Av came on Shabbos, he wanted to say, we don't have to make it up on a Sunday. So, okay, Ron bemoans the fact that it didn't happen, but it didn't happen. So they didn't want they didn't let him get away with that either. What was his logic? Once it's pushed off, it's pushed off. We don't have to fast the next day. So Omar Lo, they said Yidacha Machar. No, it's pushed off should be pushed off to the next day. V'gazele. And you, literally, guys, means you chopped off part of the story, Rabbi Les says, Rabbi China, because you cut out the part inadvertently that they had to do Tisha B'Av on Shabbos. How did Nina V'gazle and you cut it off, actually. No. V'gazle is the end of the sentence. Period. How did Nina Tamon? We went over there. Rabbi Yomer broke him out. Shtei Momer by Verchosem Lakim by Yomer Lehem Pru Urvu. The Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yomer said Pru Urvu is mitzvah both man and wife. Okay. Rabbi Lezer Mechina said Halachic Rabbi Yomer Broka. And here too, Rabbi Elazar named Rabbi Chanina said before it was Rabbi Bar Zavta named Rabbi Chanina, who had the mistake. Here it's Rabbi Elazar. See the reversal of names. It was Rabbi Bar Zavta in name Rabbi Chanina, and Rabbi Elazar corrects it. And here it's Rabbi Elazar in name Rabbi Chanina. So fair is fair. It's turnabout is fair play. Right before the inaccuracy was Rabbi Elazar named Rabbi Chanina, and here it was Rabbi named Chanina. And Bar Zavta named Chanina. And Rabbi Elazar corrected him. And here it's Rabbi, getting confused. And here it's Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Bar Zavta corrected him. It says, Imchoyis, I was here with you there when this was discussed. Let me say, Hadinim approval doesn't apply to the woman. But if she wants to get married, and the time has come for her to get married, that was the date which they set for the chasna has arrived, and they haven't yet made the chasna, so she, Hadinim, she has the right to demand that the marriage take place. That she does. V'kara alehom, and he said concerning them, and I'm not sure who said this, about whom, but somebody here said, perhaps they both said, it's always good to have two people around. Because that way, if whoever one doesn't remember accurately, can be corrected by the other one. Okay. So the way different shine the art scroll. Okay. Sorry. Says the Gemara further. Chagiga, again, Chagiga will push up to Sunday. One pasuk says that the Chag HaKatzir, the Chagiga which you bring for the Korban Yadam, is on the day that you harvest, which is on the day of. Oh, well, might as well say, I suppose. I said, white man's divorced from her husband to marry another laws with her. It could be that it's the Pshat, I just didn't remember properly. That's what I see the Korban Eidah says. But I think it works both ways. But Okay, our school might be correct about this because they see the Korban says like him. Okay, says the Gemara further. Again, the first, the chagiga is connected to the kotz here. The first, the beginning of your deeds. The other pasuk says you can't do melechas avoda. So it sounds like, and the first pasuk says that the in the first white line says last early. It's Chol Hamoed. It's a day which you're allowed to do melacha. It says beyond tov kol melacha lo tasu. It says also Chag concerning the day of Yom Tov itself. Right? So which one is it? We're being on the day in which you're allowed to do melacha, Chol Hamoed. We're doing it on the day in which you're not doing melacha, Yom Tov. So it says, well, Haketza, Amar China said, Haketza is kind of sneak. How did the Torah reconcile the two psukim? When Yom Tov comes on a weekday, at Chogeg, B'Shoides, you bring the Korban Chagiga, which is Ochel Nefesh, never permitted, and also you do Shoides, the rest of the prohibitions of Yom Tov. But when the first day Yom Tov comes on Shabbos, L'mochar Chogeg. So since Eretz Yisrael, there's no second day Yom Tov. The next day you bring the Chagiga, and you also can do Ketzira because it's already Chol Hamoed. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yosef said, "Ubilvad she'avliya b'li sasa." So that which you're cutting on the day of Chagiga is fascinating thing. Let me start that again. If anybody explains that in the day you bring the Chagiga, you have an Isra Malacha. So you can only do the Malacha which is necessary for that day. Now it's more lenient than a regular Yom Tov. Regular Yom Tov you can't even do Ketzira for that day because Melechas Ochel Nefesh for Yom Tov is only Milisha Ve'elach from the eating of the dough and beyond. You can't do Ketzira. But if it's for the day you're bringing the Korban Chagiga, so then you also have a limitation Malacha, and you can only do the Ketzira which is necessary for your dough of that day. Now the Pnei Moshe says it's talking about on Chol Hamoed. The Korban says even talking about the day after Shavuos, because we know that if you don't bring the Chagiga on Shavuos, because Shavuos comes on Shabbos, then you bring the next day, and that day is really weekday, but nevertheless there's still a din of Isra Malacha because you bring the Chagiga that day. Okay, but you have Liali Sauce, that has to be that which is absorbed in your dough. That time like like that which is taught to them. Inish you have a person who has to bring wood or bikurim to the Beis Hamikdash, and this is why the Korban Eid is saying it's talking about Shavuos because it says bikurim, right, which are brought on Shavuos. Somebody who brings, and it seems to be explaining what bringing wood is. So he says I have to bring wood for the Mizbeach or Gezirin. There were specific cuts, block cuts of wood, which are put on the Mizbeach, which are put on the Maracha in a specific way at the beginning of the day. So then, on the flame at the beginning of the day, that day is Asr B'Hesped with Tanis. Person not allowed to do a Hesped or Tanis that day. It's a personal Yontif. Lasos Malacha Bo Bayom, and do Malacha on that day is Asr as well. So it's big Kiddush. That's what it says. I don't believe that this is brought down in the Bavli at all, that there's such Isra Malacha on that day, which means Korban Chagiga. Uvaka. So Haka also push off a day. Rabbi Brei Rabbi Chia Bar Ba said, Omar Mivnei Atkiya, because they blow shofar at Haka. So they don't blow shofar. It's not the mitzvah of Sukkot to blow shofar, so therefore we push it off. I'm sorry. It's not mitzvah on Shabbos. We push it off because it's on Shabbos. So it's not mitzvah Sayyim, so therefore it's not Doicha Shabbos. If it was Rosh Hashanah, it would be Doicha Shabbos, Midoraisa perhaps. Even though, again, according to Yerushalmi, not necessarily. But L'maisa, Sukkot, so for sure it's not Doicha Shabbos. Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Chia Amar Mivnei Bima, because they have to construct a platform for the king to say Hakel from. So therefore, you can't do that. We're afraid you're going to do it on Shabbos. So V'yasu, well, actually, I'm not just afraid. You're going to do it, the way that you don't do it on Shabbos, because the Gemara now asks, V'yasu Samiyasmo, why they do it on Friday? So it says we couldn't make it on Friday because too many people are coming for Yom to the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, we try and leave the Azara as open as possible, the courtyard of Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, they have to make it that day of the Hakel, and therefore, if it comes on Shabbos, they can't do it. So therefore, they have to push it off to the next day. Amar Rabbi Matanya. Rabbi Matanya said another reason why they can't do a day early. Al Shem Lo Titelcha Ashera Kol Eitz. You can't plant any wood in the Beis Hamikdash now, except where it's necessary, according for the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, where the wood is necessary, like on Sukkot they used to make the Ezos Noshim, a balcony around out of wood. So where it's necessary to have a balcony or a platform, so then it becomes legit. But the day before, it's not. So therefore, they can't do it a day earlier in order that it shouldn't look like it shouldn't be low titalcha ashera kol eitz. So yes, building a platform is equated to planting a tree. I assume it's the Rabbana, not the Raisa. And the Korban Eidah, it sounds like it's because it looks permanent if you do it have it there for 2 days. And again, it has to do with the look. But it is again because we don't want there to be this wood, which is unnecessary in the Beis Hamikdash, lest it come to be associated with Asherah. Okay, I think we'll stop here for today because the next line is already going on a new issue, and we'll leave it for next week. Okay, next week I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to finish the block because it's a long block, but nevertheless, Yitzhak Hashem. Okay, have a good night.